Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Tabatha Barber. Welcome to the podcast, Tabitha.
Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yeah, we met in person at the Water Break Summit back at the end of March, which I was saying to my son, because if you remember, I brought them with me, but then they didn't want to
Yeah.
come, so they just hung out in the hotel. And I was like, man, I really enjoyed that weekend. That was a great weekend. Like, I like to enjoy or like exploring Moscow. I said, but I'll never go back unless I absolutely have to. Like, so I'm like, fingers crossed they do it somewhere else next year. It was nice to visit and explore, but like, not a lot to do there. It's kind of like that, one horse town kind of thing. So
Yeah, you're not into the small towns, hey?
a little bit bigger would be nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very much like, yeah. Anyway, but it was lovely I like going new places regardless because I like experiencing new things, but I probably wouldn't go back unless I had to. So,
Yeah. And the people were so awesome. I just felt like so loved, and it was a good weekend of hope, wasn't it?
it was a fun weekend and everyone was lovely. Um, But when we were there, we obviously got to meet in person and share a bit of our story. And I invited you onto the podcast. Um, so I wanted to start off with if you could share a little bit of your background and mostly the emphasis on the burnout and what happened to you there before we transition into the conversation.
Yeah, I would love to share my story, and I would invite everybody listening to just start thinking about what they have been through in their lives because we all have a story, whether we tell it or not. And so much of it we can relate to each other because we're all just suffering the same human condition. We're trying to be seen and loved and heard and do, good and move forward in this life. But there are things that we need to learn and experience before we can understand and accomplish and break through. And so I had a lot of struggle for a long time, and I was a wild child, didn't want to submit to authority, just wanted to do my own thing. I said, rules are made to be broken.
Yeah.
And it got me in a lot of trouble, right? And
Yeah.
so by the time I was 16, I was pregnant. And I know this is part of the story that you connected with so much is God just intervened and shifted everything because I was on the wrong path. I was on this self-destruction path, of which I thought was so fun and amazing, but really it was going nowhere. And so I had a very traumatic pregnancy and delivery, and out of that came this deep desire to not only help myself and my daughter speak up for ourselves, but to just give women a voice and a choice when it comes to their bodies and their health. And so that looked like me going back, getting my GED, getting into college, getting into medical school, doing a residency, and becoming this doctor that I thought was going to be able to help everybody and heal everybody. But I was so miserable that I was falling asleep at my desk. I couldn't remember my patients' names the night before that I had just delivered. I was 35 plus pounds overweight. I had raging Hashimoto's thyroid disease, depression that my antidepressants weren't touching, irritable bowel syndrome, reflux, eczema, you name it, I had it. Migraines, all the things. And I was so miserable. And I was like, wait a second. I just did all of that to help women. I can't even help myself. Like, what is wrong? And it wasn't until I went through failed back surgery and got threatened with rods and screws and all this hardware to be put in my back that I really just took a time out and figured out that I was like self-destructing yet again, right?
Just in a different way.
Yeah, I was serving. I thought I was helping people, but it was still self-destructive because the way I was living wasn't sustainable. and it was killing me. And the truth of it is, I was trying to do it all on my own, and God had to put me in a timeout again and say, "Hey, I'm supposed to actually do this with you. You're supposed to look to me to
I
carry the
lead, you
burdens."
don't lead. Yeah.
Yes. And that's hard when you want to be in control and you're afraid that everybody else is going to let you down and they can't do it as well as you can, and you've been given this mission, and I'm like, okay, it's all on me, I have to make it happen. And that's just a lie. It's a lie from the enemy, and we wear busyness as a badge, like it makes us more
I'm
worthy or
so
gives us our
successful. I'm
value.
so busy. My calendar is so full.
Yes. And it makes us feel important, right? Like, oh, everybody needs me and the world will fall apart if I don't do things for people. That's why I got to the point I got to. I refused to ever take a day off, to ever take a break, to ever exercise or spend the time to eat right, because I thought, no, I have to take care of the next person because nobody can do it as good as me and everybody else will drop the ball. And I was coming from a place of ego, and that's not how you're supposed to live. I didn't realize that though when I was in the thick of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, and not only is it ego, it's also like that fear-based scarcity. Like I have to do this or I'll lose out somehow. I'll either lose to another practitioner or I'll lose financially. Like, yeah, it's a lot of that mind games that when we just let it go to God, it is that metaphorical weight off your shoulders. Like there's no fear, there's no ego, whatever he wants to happen, I trust is in my best interest.
Well, yeah, we get stuck in this loop of thinking that we have to produce, we have to perform in order to be worthy, in order to be loved, in order for people to think that we're good enough. And so if I wasn't taking care of people and I wasn't specialing them, like I would have nights of call where I had to do deliveries. And then on top of that, I would special people. So I would be on call for their delivery, even if I wasn't on call. And so I was always delivering babies all night long, doing surgery all day. And I was doing it because I thought, if I don't do that, then I'm not good enough. Then they're not going to like me enough, or I'm not going to make enough money, like you said, and my paycheck's going to reflect that. There were so many worldly factors driving these choices, and that is not how we are called to live. And so inevitably it's going to lead to burnout because that's not how your body was designed. You know, when I gave the talk in Moscow, Idaho, one of the last things I talked about was that the Sabbath or Sunday was made for us to rest. It wasn't made for God. God didn't need to rest. We need to rest. So he knows that our body can go and be pushed and do hard things, but then we have to take a break on a regular basis,
Mhm.
not once a year for a week-long vacation, you know, like on the regular. We have to re-plug in, just like our cell phone will die if we don't plug it in every night. We don't expect our cell phone to work if we don't plug it in while we're sleeping. Like, why do we think we don't need to sleep? We don't need to take the day off. Like, we're just crazy.
We really are, and a lot of us have pushed to the stage so hard, and people say this all the time that I've pushed and pushed and pushed that even when I do take a break, let's say for that week or two, it actually takes me a few days to unwind before I can get into vacation mode. We just don't know anymore how to stop and slow down. But one thing that also kind of came to me as you were speaking is when we're going through this pushing and grinding and eventually burnout, what we're doing is we're breaking ourselves. Because I
Yeah.
have been on my own healing journey for the last few months, and one line that I heard off another influencer somewhere, it stuck with me, stuck the whole time. And we all know the saying of you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, this guy said, you can't pour from a broken cup. If you're broken, you can't hold anything. Like, So that really stuck with me because I was at a stage of breaking, and then I had to glue it all back together, bring it all back together. And it is taking longer than I thought it would, but it's that case of unless you go through it, you can't get to it.
Oh, I love that analogy so much. And it's absolutely true. And like you mentioned, the people who go on this week-long vacation, they think they're going to get all restored and, come back feeling amazing. They're going back to the same life which created that brokenness, that dysfunction. And so you come back and you're already behind the eight ball. You're already, overwhelmed and things. It's like you get punished for taking a break. And so I felt that so much as a doctor. Anytime I would try and step away, I would just come back to like twice as much work or twice as much call to make up for me being gone. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. This cannot be how we're supposed to live. This just seems like fruitless, ridiculous. And so the truth of it is, we have to carve out stillness in our everyday life, in our regular rhythms, so that we don't get to the point of burnout. And you're right, it takes a while to recover. It took me a long time. One of the biggest things that was the game changer for my healing was healing my gut and really managing the ecosystem that was running and driving my energy production and my hormones and my neurotransmitters for my brain health and all those things. But I couldn't heal my gut until I got control of my schedule and I set boundaries and I said no. And I scheduled in time on my calendar to move my body, to get in the word and read scripture and talk to God and do the things that actually bring life and bring restoration as opposed to just depleting, depleting, depleting. So I love to envision that cup or not as broken or half empty or half full, but it's so full that you are pouring from your saucer. It's overflowing. It's just spilling out into other people's cups. You don't even have to pour your cup because it's so full that it just automatically refreshes others. And so it's this whole paradigm shift in your mind that has to happen of like, let me lead from rest. Let me not lead from hustle and grind. That's not actually necessary. Let me lead from the fullness of my rest. And I know that sounds foreign to a lot of people. It was super foreign to me for a long time. But once I figured it out, like life has just been 100 times better in every aspect.
Mm. I was going to say that like if we do take these vacations or times of rest, I am always saying, oh my God, I have to catch up on everything when I get back. So before I leave, I'm trying to get everything done before I leave. And then when I get back, I have to catch up on what I did. It just makes no sense. So then I've established, and you have, that if I am taking these breaks or times of rest, what am I changing when I come back? What is going to be different? Because I can't come back to the same because that doesn't make sense. So something has to change. And a lot of people don't think of that because we think we're just getting a break from the norm. You're getting a break from the norm. Okay, for some people that might be fine, but if you're at the level of burnout or extreme anxiety or grief or whatever, you're not taking a break. You're almost resetting so that when you come back, things are different. And I hate to say this because all strength comes from God, but we're coming back and things are a bit easier because we've manipulated it because we know we need to heal.
Well, here's what I learned that I had to get a break from myself. I had to come back to a new way of seeing myself, seeing my life, and that required shifting my thinking, renewing my mind. And so if you can get a break from all of the crazy talk going on in your head, we call it the monkey mind because literally over 70% of the thoughts that you thought yesterday and the beliefs that you held, you think them again today and again tomorrow. And that is why you stay stuck in burnout and in the pit, because you haven't renewed your mind. You haven't changed your beliefs or your identity about your future, of what you're capable of, what you can have. And so you have to start to do that deeper work, because you can have whatever diet plan, whatever exercise regimen, you can spend all the money doing that stuff. But if you don't see yourself being good at managing your time or being organized or have setting boundaries and being capable of saying no, like you your circumstances won't change because you're still that same broken cup, right? And so I love to help women do that deeper work of starting to unwrap those layers of who am I, what do I believe, what's driving my decisions every day, and therefore my habits and behaviors, and therefore my outcomes. So we have to stop trying again to do more, different, and be different. Come from a place of I'm a different woman now. I don't tolerate the crap I used to tolerate. My standards are higher for myself. Like, it's just an absolutely different way of thinking, but I know that you're listening to this podcast for a reason. So this must be something that you've been praying for or struggling with or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of inner work that needs to be done, a lot. And it's even a case of, let's say, for a weight loss journey, if you hire the best coach or teacher in the world, but you don't do that work, it's going to get you nowhere. And it all has to start in the inner work. We discussed, I don't know if we did discuss my weight loss journey, but with my journey, so I lost 165 pounds and kept
Yeah.
it off. But most of that was the mindset, the inner work, the daily self-talk, the daily like motivation stuff I would listen to, read. There was obviously praying involved, but it was a lot of almost brainwashing to change who I was, which it worked, obviously, but I had to change who I was.
Yeah.
And one word that because even with our healing journeys, they're never over. They just sometimes they're more extreme. Like my last few months have been more extreme than other times in my life. And when this season passes, then it'll calm down and then something, and it just constantly. But a word that's resonated a lot with me with what you said there, like my boundaries, what am I worth? Like what am I willing to take? What am I saying no to? Like dignity. Dignity has been
Mm.
resonating with me a lot lately, and I even like looked at the dictionary. I'm like, okay, tell me exactly what dignity means, like that self-respect,
Yeah.
knowing my worth, knowing what I will and won't tolerate anymore, knowing what I deserve. Um, and that is like I think a lot of people overlook this part of the healing journey, and we can very much get stuck in the victimize poor me mentality. And I get it, I was there, but eventually you have to pull yourself out of it. And this inner work is where it starts.
That's so good. Yeah. And the truth of it is, if you don't do that inner work, the 160 pounds will come back on, right? That's the saddest part is we know there's a better future. There's a better version of us. We know it's attainable. And some of us get there, but we don't all stay there. And that's what we need to figure out. And that is the harder work, but it's so much more rewarding. And I truly believe that God reveals it to us in layers to work on, because if He showed it to us all at once when we're a hot, raging, burned out mess, we wouldn't even try and do anything about it. Like that would feel overwhelming and like fathomable. And so he's so gracious. He's like, here's what we need to work on now. And then he gives you another word or, another resource. And you keep going on this journey and keep taking that next step. And that's what the beautiful thing is. You're right. It never ends. I believe if we're done working on ourselves, our time on the earth is done. So I don't want to be done. Like, I want more days. Let me keep working on some stuff, right? But it's also important to realize that our struggle isn't just for us. We are called to live in a community and to raise up each other and love each other. That's very clear in the Bible. Like, you're supposed to love your enemy, you're supposed to pray for them, you're supposed to love your neighbor. And so that means if you've learned something, if you've figured something out, you're supposed to share that and help out another person. And that's why podcasts like this are so powerful, because somebody listening right now is having a breakthrough like, oh man, yeah, my schedule just destroys my day because I don't set my boundaries. And they needed to hear that. And they're going to go and they're going to figure out how to set some boundaries. And it's going to have an incredible ripple effect for everyone in their life. And it just goes on and on and on. So I would encourage everybody listening, like, yes, the work is for you, but it's also for your kids, for your spouse, for your siblings and your coworkers and your friends, because as women, we have so much influence over the people around us. You don't think you do. You know, you might have like 5 friends on Instagram and no following, and that's amazing. But I promise you, you still have major influence in your life, in person with the people around you. They're watching what you're eating, they're watching your choices that you're making and the words that you're saying to yourself. And so I love to like recruit my friends and say, hold me accountable. If I'm speaking defeat over myself, call me out on it. If I say, I'm so exhausted, I'm never gonna feel better, like, shout that crap out, because that is a lie from the pit of hell and it's gotta go. And I need to replace it with something that is life-giving. Like, I am healing. I am overcoming this. I am actually full of supernatural energy, and I just need to figure out what to do next. And that part is really going to help to renew your mind. So you got to even know what's going on in that mind of yours, and then hold yourself accountable, get your friends to hold you accountable, and figure out how to renew it with some truth.
Hmm. The self-mastery, one of the hardest things that he gave us to accomplish. But so now we've got the inner work. And while we're doing that, we do have to do an element of outer work as well, the physical stuff. So you mentioned the gut health aspect. So let's transition into that.
Mm.
Where does the gut and what's going on there influence? I mean, I'm going to go as far as say the inner work, because we know if we have an inflamed gut or there's something going on, we're definitely going to have more anxiety, we're going to have more mental health issues. So there is a clear connection there.
Absolutely. I have struggled with gut issues since I was a young kid. I used to run around my neighborhood barefoot and drink the river water and all the things. So I would have parasites, and I was on multiple doses of antibiotics for ear infections because everyone around me smoked in the 70s and 80s. And so my poor gut was a disaster from the beginning. And it was a setup for major depression by the time I was an early teen. I had suicidal thoughts, and I just was on this roller coaster of emotions. And then I got into medical school somehow and was living a disastrous life of 10 cups of Starbucks every day and not sleeping, and taking 3 to 5 exams every week, stressed out to the max, worried about failing. And it was just this setup for chronic gut dysbiosis and nervous system dysregulation. And that kept me sick. It didn't matter what antidepressant I was on. The Zoloft didn't work, the Effexor didn't work, the Lexapro didn't work, because it was coming from bad gut bacteria. They were sending toxic signals to my brain from the vagus nerve. And those neurotransmitters in your brain, those chemicals that are talking between the nerves, they're sending toxic signals or healing, happy, restorative signals. And I wasn't sending any healing, happy signals. It was all toxic. And it wasn't until I healed my gut that my depression started to lift and I could get off those medications and actually feel at peace. But here's the harder part: your hormones are so intricately connected with your liver and your gut that if your hormones are out of whack, you're going to also struggle to feel mentally stable because your hormones give you your personality essentially. And when my estrogen dropped and didn't come back up because I was in perimenopause, I was so depressed I couldn't get off the couch. And it wasn't my gut necessarily at that moment, it was my hormone imbalance from my menopausal transition. And so what God downloaded to me was, you need to teach women how all of this is connected and how to differentiate what the heck my body is saying to me, because all of these different symptoms that we experience, they're just messages. Your body actually has innate intelligence. It wants to be in balance. It wants to be healthy, but it's trying to talk to you and tell you and throw up a red flag. Hey, this is not okay what you're eating. This is not okay what you're doing, or I need more of that, or we're going through this transition. So if you can start to understand how it's all connected and what your body is saying at those different times, you'll be able to support it and actually work with it and love it into change, as opposed to trying to hate it and submiss it into change. Like, you will do this, push, 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 as opposed to like, what do you need from me? I think about how we would talk to our younger kids. They just need love. They need patience. They need us to talk slow, get down to their level, look eye to eye, and just be like, what are you trying to say? Slow your words down. I can't understand you. And if we just start talking to our body that way, you'd be amazed at how things can start to shift instead of like fighting against it.
Mhm. And sometimes that inner child or little child just needs to go to sleep. They don't need to go to
Amen.
bed. So most women are not prioritizing their sleep, but that's another conversation. Back to the gut. You
Mm.
said this is lately I'm more transitioning towards like, why don't we tell people what not to do? There's so many of the times where people know what to do. There's enough podcasts out there saying, take this adaptogen, do this colostrum, do this, do that, do that. Well, you can't do all of that if you haven't stopped the other stuff, because now you're just throwing stuff in on top of the bad stuff and it's a waste of money. So you said, I had to realize this is not okay. That is not okay. So what? What was not okay for
Mm.
your gut that you had to stop doing?
Yeah, I love it. You cannot out supplement a bad lifestyle. Like, it just does not work. I was not sleeping. That is true. I really wasn't. For a good 15 years, I was running on 2 to 5 hours of sleep. That is the time that your body actually goes and repairs everything that got damaged and broken down during the day, the things that got inflamed or infected. It's the time where you make your memories and you process all the thoughts and the feelings you had so they can get filed correctly, so that you don't have like PTSD, traumatic recall, because things aren't firing properly up there in the right files. Like, so much happens while we're sleeping, but we act like it's just a waste of our time or it's not a big deal. And
Or
I
I just
tell
have to do
women,
it. It's just something
yeah,
I
I
have
just
to
have to
do.
do it.
Yeah.
And I tell women, you have to sleep like it's your job. It actually is your job to get rest, to let your body have that downtime to repair. And even more than that, you need to give your gut a rest. We are eating way too much in this country. We eat the minute we wake up until the minute we go to sleep. There's even people who wake up in the night and eat a snack. I'm
I
like, what
know,
in
it's
the
shocking.
heck?
I'm like,
It is,
what?
yeah, our body needs a break from eating. We think that eating is only giving us energy, but it's not. It actually requires nutrients and resources to break down the food, absorb, and digest it all. So when I was training as a surgeon, one of the first things I learned was to write an order called NPO, and that tells the nurse, don't feed my patient. My patient just had major surgery. I want her gut to rest. I want all of her resources to go to healing, not to digesting food. And so we've gotten away from how our bodies were actually designed to thrive. And if you could stop eating all the time, I'm not saying eat less, I'm saying eat less often, then you would give your body an opportunity to go deal with that chronic knee pain that you have or that recurrent sinus issue that you have. Like you're not allowing it to tap into that process of autophagy, of healing with, getting into a fasted state. So that can be really helpful for gut healing. The cells in our gut regenerate within like 24 to 48 hours. So it can start to shift things fast. And the last thing, we talked about so many things we shouldn't be doing, but we shouldn't be speaking death over ourselves. We shouldn't be staying up too late. We shouldn't be eating all the time. And I'm just going to call this out, and your listeners are probably going to hate me, but we have to
Okay.
drink less alcohol. It is a toxic poison, and in little amounts, it feels really good and it takes the edge off. And we treat it like we deserve it because we had a rough day or we're stressed out. We use it to help us fall asleep. We use it in social situations to break down a barrier so that we feel like we can talk to people. And I say, if you have to drink alcohol to tolerate the people you're around, then maybe you shouldn't actually be around them and socializing with them. Think about that. But alcohol, it does so many things. It destroys your gut microbiome. It kills all the good bacteria. It destroys your gut lining. It causes leaky gut. It causes this depressive effect to your nervous system. And it lowers your inhibitions so that you make more bad choices when you are under the influence. And the hardest part for women is that it takes up a lot of valuable space in the liver, getting broken down and metabolized. And when your liver has to metabolize alcohol and Benadryl and Tylenol, acetaminophen, all these over-the-counter medications, it puts estrogen on the back burner and says, I'll deal with you later because you're not toxic. I got to get rid of all this toxic stuff that she's got in her body. And so your estrogen levels start to build up because it's not getting broken down and removed from the liver. So alcohol drives a lot of these estrogen dominant issues that we struggle with: PMS, heavy periods, fibroids, endometriosis. And then it is the number one modifiable risk factor for breast cancer. So if you're afraid of getting breast cancer and getting your breasts cut off, stop drinking all the alcohol. I promise you that will lower your risk more than anything else that you do. It doesn't matter what your genetics are most of the time. Genetics are like 3 to 4%. It matters what your poor body is doing, how your liver is functioning and handling your hormones.
I'm so glad you touched on that liver aspect because I talk about this so much because I see it so much. All of these menstrual issues, the hormone issues, the symptoms of estrogen dominance, the histamine, even the mental health issues, the PMS issues, the very heavy bleeding that will not stop for days and days, and in some cases weeks. And
Yes.
then I'm like looking at their lifestyle practices. Oh, you're having a bottle of wine in the evening? Well, there's the answer right there. You don't need a hysterectomy. You need to stop drinking the wine.
Yep.
And but it's like we not laugh about it and almost like it's a joke, but it's not. Women are actually doing this. And part of it is because they don't know, which is why podcasts and conversations like these are so good. But that nobody's telling women, in the sex ed, by the way, if you do this, this is gonna happen. Um, And one thing I would love your input on this because someone said this to me recently, and because like being Irish, sometimes my responses can be a bit harsh. I think Texans are like that as well, but um, so sometimes I'm like, my friend laughs at me because I have been known to message her and say, "How would you respond to this politely without upsetting anybody?" Because I just don't have the capacity. But she said, um, well, camping season is here, and this is where the problem is. I put on most of my weight. We drink and snack a lot, and this is how I have fun. Like, I need to have alcohol to have fun, and that immediately rings alarm bells to me. But then I'm like, I don't know how to respond to this adequately without saying, "Don't be stupid."
Yeah, it's true. And where I come from, it's boating season because we live around lakes and it's only warm for a few months of the year. And so, yeah, we want to enjoy it. And that just looks like drinking our cocktails, eating our snacks. And what I'm advocating is that there is another way to have a good time and still enjoy yourself without drinking alcohol. And luckily, there are substitutes now. There's so many fun um, mocktails out there. You can buy them already made in cans and different things, or adaptogen drinks, or just sparkling flavored waters. Because part of it is, yeah, you want to have something in your hand, you want to be drinking and enjoying the evening. But I would take us back to that inner work of
Yeah.
like, why are you actually reaching for that alcohol? Because a lot of the time, like I said, it's to tolerate people that you actually don't want to talk to or you're afraid to talk to, or you're lonely and you don't have anything to do and you don't want to feel the feelings you're feeling, or you're stressed and you want to bring that edge down and not feel that. So often it's about not wanting to feel what you're feeling. And I promise you that is going to manifest as disease because our body keeps the score. Even if you don't address the feeling, it's a chemical reaction that actually happens in your brain and then out to your body. And so it's changing your physiology, whether you want to address it emotionally or not. It's actually having a physical manifestation, a response. That's why you can talk about a fight you had 5 years ago. And like, if you really start talking to somebody about it and how she wronged you and she did this and she went off and, cheated with your man, you'll feel all those feelings again because it's literally just a chemical reaction that your body creates and goes throughout your body and sends signals to all your cells. And so it will create disease whether you address it or not. So I recommend uncover those feelings. Just get curious. Don't be judgmental. Don't feel ashamed. Just be like, huh, that's interesting. Every Sunday night, you tend to reach for the bowl of ice cream, or every night after work, you reach for that glass of wine. Why is that? Is it just a bad habit? Or are you trying to numb some kind of feeling? And what if you just felt that feeling and you realize like your feelings will not kill you, they will not destroy you. And these chemical reactions that do happen, they only last about 90 seconds. So if you can acknowledge it and call it out, the chemicals will dissipate and go away. The more you ignore it, the more the chemicals keep being made because your brain is like, "Hey, pay attention to us. We're feeling something." And you're like, "Nope, nope." And so they just keep making the chemicals. And so the quicker you learn to call it out and be like, "Oh, I'm just lonely right now. Let me call my girlfriend instead and ask her to go for a walk," and like replace it with something loving and healing and nurturing, then you'll be able to shift out of it and you'll start to get addicted to that. And that can be your new habit instead, you know?
A lot of the time, I find it is that exhaustion and the stress, and that's why we're doing it. So, what else could you do instead? You should probably go to bed. Like, honest, but what we convince ourselves not to go to bed. I need to stay up because it's Friday evening or it's Friday night. I don't want to waste my Friday night. I don't think going to bed is a waste, but I can see that perspective. It only comes once a week, and we've only got so many Friday nights in a year. And so, and all of this self-talk and thoughts, and like it's been a long week, and that is where all that inner work comes from. Because to then convince yourself, okay, I'm not going to have the wine or watch the movie. I am going to go for a walk with my girlfriend, or you know what, I am just going to go to bed. Like it's not the worst thing in the world to go to bed early on a Friday night, or I am going to have a bath or a cup of tea or something different. But that's the hard work. It sounds easy as I say it, but it's the hard work convincing yourself to do it. And it really is, what did you say? It was like a total shift in perspective on how you want to be and how you envision your days and your life being. And therefore, you have to become a new you. You have to become a new version of you.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to get to the point where you're done. Like, this is not worth it. I am absolutely miserable. Why do I continue to make these choices? And you make a decision to do something different. Even if you don't make a decision, that's a decision. That's a decision to stay stuck. So make a new decision. Make a decision like, you know what? I'm going to do something to feel better. I'm going to do something to feel good on a Saturday morning so I can get up and go to Pilates instead of feeling hungover and exhausted for the rest of the weekend. You know, it's like it just takes one decision followed by another decision to get you unstuck and get you out of the pit. And I always think about gut health with every conversation. So just thinking about drinking alcohol in the evening, staying out late. Like when we drink alcohol, our poor gut can't make serotonin. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter our brain uses to be motivated, to feel good, to get moving. And it also turns into melatonin, which helps us sleep. And so you get really stuck in this vicious cycle of you're not sleeping because you're drinking alcohol, and then the alcohol makes your blood sugar drop in the middle of the night and your cortisol rage, and then you wake up and then you're really not sleeping, and it's just this vicious cycle. So if you want a different outcome, you got to do something different, and it might have to be drastic.
Yeah, but going for a walk and making a cup of tea is not that drastic.
For some people, it is,
I
right?
know,
Like,
yeah.
what?
I know. So with the gut health, I know you're a big fan of fasting. So you obviously mentioned eating less frequently. And fasting can be utilized as a tool here. And fasting can be really helpful for mental health issues for sure. Like if it, it's funny when people say they've done a long fast, they're like, but I'm just so clear and I can focus and this and that and the other. And part of me is like, well, yeah, because you probably have a lot of adrenaline and that's making you focus because you're already super stressed. Because there's obviously different categories of fasting. Some people who are like really hardcore and I have to do this fast, even though I did like F45 this morning and I'm doing keto and they're just pushing every lever they can. And now I gotta fast. That's probably not a good idea, but that's why you feel so clear because you've so much adrenaline. Like adrenaline does make us feel good, and then there's the other side that if we're in this kind of healing journey and we do the fasting and we allow the inflammation in the gut to reduce, the endotoxins come down, all of this kind of overstimulatory stuff that happens when we're very inflamed, now we almost feel clean and clear and I can breathe again and I can focus. And immediately I see this all the time with clients. If, and I'll add for the listeners, I'm really careful with how I use fasting with my clients because I deal with certain types of people that I just have to be careful. But when they do a longer fast, night and day in their anxiety. Night and
Mm,
day, that anxiety is gone, and a big part is because you allowed your gut to do some healing.
yeah.
Um, but how do you like to utilize fasting with your patients?
It's such an incredible tool. I think our body was designed to fast. It really was. But as a tool, you can use it for good or you can use it for evil. That is the truth of it. It's just like money. Like money can be used for good in the right hands, but in the wrong hands, it can do a lot of harm. And so I think of fasting the same way. It can heal your body. It can restore your relationship with your creator so you can hear from him clearer. It can help you break free from food noise and get freedom from food because just like alcohol, we reach to food to smother our feelings and to fill that void. And once we can conquer our flesh and get past all of that stuff, then we can really start to heal. But we have taken it in this world to be like the latest trend of you got to do it harder and longer and more. And it's really like put this negative spin on it like it's a bad thing and it's going to destroy you. And so, unfortunately, there's women with Hashimoto's and chronic fatigue and different things who are scared to death of the word fasting because of the spin that the world has put on it. So, to me, it's not a fad diet. It is how we were created to live. We were created for feast and famine cycling. We were created to be able to go times without food so that our body can heal, so that we can think clear, that we can hear from God and have revelation. And just because sometimes it's good to deprive your flesh. Sometimes your flesh does not need to be satisfied all of the time. I say, if you see a beautiful man walking down the street, you don't like go up and start kissing him because you want to and you desire it. But if we see a donut, we're like, we're all over that donut. We don't think twice about it. And it's literally the same thing. We're just giving into our fleshly desires. But here's where we fall short is like you were saying, we just try harder, we push, we deprive, we sacrifice. It feels hard. And fasting should not feel that way. If you have nourished your body with the right foods when you are eating, if you're getting enough healthy fats, protein, and fiber, and then you take the food away, you can stay in ketosis. You can start burning your own fat for fuel because your body was burning fat that you were eating. It remembers how to do that. But unfortunately, the majority of our country and of the world at this point is stuck in sugar burning mode. We eat carbohydrates nonstop, carbs, 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 even if they're good, vegetables, fruits, all the things. And I'm not saying we shouldn't eat that, but we eat it in such excess that we never get into ketosis. And so we're always staying in the glucose mode of energy production. And that is a very short form of energy. It goes away really quickly. And so we need to eat again every hour or two. But if you start eating more healthy fats and protein, that lasts longer. It gives you twice as much energy for twice as long. And so when you remove the food, then you can tap into your own fat and burn your own fat for fuel. And the key is you don't want your body to think it's starving. We're not trying to eat less. We're trying to eat less often. And so you got to bring in a higher carbohydrate day and replenish your glucose stores so that your thyroid doesn't think you're starving to death and shift into like freak out mode. So there's a right way, a healthy way to do it, and a not so healthy way. And I truly believe if you're doing it for the right reasons, to heal, to restore, to hear from God, to honor your body, to clean it up, to get rid of the inflammation, then it's going to thrive. But if you're doing it as a punishment, as like, you gotta lose weight or
I have
else
to do
I
this, like
have to
as I
do
have
this.
to, yeah.
Yeah, it that will just make your issues all the worse.
It needs to be, I want to do it, the want, not I
Yeah.
have to. I want to do this for whatever reason. So I do longer fasts pretty much every week and I plan them appropriately because, like you, I have hypothyroid. But as going through this healing season that I've been going through, it was very easy for me to excuse myself not to fast. Like, I need to take care of myself, overlooking the fact that if I do this fast properly, I actually am taking care of myself. But what I found very helpful was because I pray every morning and night on these fasting days where I know I have to fast. I don't like to break promises, so make a promise to God. Okay, I promise you I will fast today, and then I'll feel guilty if I don't. And so that really helps me with my fast lately. I do enjoy fasts. I think a lot of people do when they do it correct, but not this. I have to. And like really crazy extremes as well. A lot of women are doing like a 3 to 7 day water fast. I have to do that. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. But anyway, and a lot of people as well. I don't know why I'm throwing this in, but I will because as you were speaking, I talk about this a lot with my clients. Most of most of the people out there, which is not surprising because they don't do what we do, they've never heard of the migrating motor complex, ever, ever, ever. So the cleanup system in the gut. So now we have all these influencers and gym rats saying you have to eat 6 and 8 times a day. No, 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 you don't. They might be getting ready to go on stage or something. Plus, they look great on Instagram, but you have no idea what is happening in that body or in that brain or behind doors. And that is, of course, is the na human nature. We see things, we want what we see, but we don't consider what's going on in the background. Like, there's no way you're eating 6 or 8 times a day and you don't have some issues there. Like, so, eating less. Fasting, understanding why you're doing it, which then encourages you to want to do it. All part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And the newest trend is like you just need to eat more protein. And so now I have women coming to me eating so much protein, they feel nauseous almost. Like I can't even eat as much as I'm supposed to. And I'm not only not losing weight, but I'm gaining weight. And here's the truth of it. If you're sedentary most of the day, if you're only working out 30 to 50 minutes a day, you probably aren't going to utilize that much protein. You're not breaking your muscles down enough to re-enter to repair all of that with protein. And so, like you said, we have to see what are we doing and not compare ourselves to someone who's working out in the gym 2 hours every day. They are going to need more protein. They are ripped. Look at their muscle mass. And if you want to get there, yes, you got to eat more protein, but you're not going to lose weight necessarily first at the same time. And so we just got to stop the comparison game and say, what do I need personally as an individual in my situation with what I'm doing in my life? And then you will stop feeling so defeated and frustrated that that didn't work for you because maybe that's not what you needed or you didn't do it in the right way, you know?
That's also where you need to accept. I need to ask for help. I need to hire someone
Yes.
because the like if you're Googling everything or watching Instagram all the time, that's all great and all, but eventually you have to work with a practitioner that has experience that can identify the individualities there. But the protein conversation is interesting to me because I actually see the opposite. Everyone's talking about protein, 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 and creatine. And every time I talk to someone lately, my mind is still blown that their protein is so low. Like a girl showed me this morning her track, and it was 60 grams a day. And I'm like, have you
Mm,
missed the conversation around protein? Like so women are funny. We're funny creatures. We know what we need to do, but we still don't do it. It's like, it's interesting to me. Well, if we come to the end now, I want to just transition into one last question. I've asked a few of my guests before, but it's a specific type of guest I can only ask this question to, and you are one of those. And it's something that always plays a lot on my mind. Now, I work with like so many people and I have so many friends. I talk to a lot of people and I watch for trends. I'm like, who does what? Who does this? Who does that? Like, is there a connection there? One thing I've noticed, and I know people are not going to like me saying this, but I've noticed it, is that people who have a relationship with God, who know Jesus, who have a strong faith, who who read scripture, like all of the things, they have a strong faith. They tend to be more mentally stable and healthier than people who don't. And I'm part of my argument is, well, because we have an element of happiness there, we see the world a bit differently, but also we don't feel alone. We don't think, oh, I'm doing this all by myself. I'm alone all the time. There's no hope. Everything's just darkness. There's no light anywhere. And then those people seem to have more health issues. Like, so they've the mental health issues, but they also seem to have more physical health, which makes me wonder, are you manifesting this darkness inside you because you don't have this? Am I wording this correct? Because this plays on
Yeah.
my mind a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this is what God has revealed to me over the past 5 or 6 years is the reason I couldn't get healthy and stay healthy, the reason I couldn't help women is because we weren't nourishing the soul and spirit aspect. We weren't healing that part of us. And so when it's left unhealed, it's going to manifest physically, whether someone likes it or not. The spiritual realm is real. It exists. There are so much um, energetic things out there that we don't see that are affecting our lives. And you and I are literally talking from across the country, on Zoom right now. We are energy frequency flying through the air that nobody can see, and somehow it is manifesting physically on my computer screen. That is the miracle of how God set our universe. He created these principles. And if we can just acknowledge, hey, what's happening in our spirit world with our spirit manifests into our physical reality, then we can start to realize, okay, if I'm wounded in my spirit because of something that happened to me as a child, I'm carrying that with me. It's manifesting physically. It doesn't matter what supplements I take or what test I do. Like, I actually have to deal with that. And who better to deal with it than the one who created you, the one who created your body and your spirit? We're so afraid to bow down to a creator because we have an ego. We want to think that we're equal to the universe and it's all good and light and love. But there is someone divine orchestrating all of this. He has written your days in a book. He knows the beginning to the end, and you have a purpose for your life. You're not just this big bang mistake. Oh, how exciting. You happened by accident. No, I don't believe that. The more I study science, the more I believe the Bible, the more I believe that there was a divine creator, the mathematics around our bodies chemistry experiments and the functions, like there's no doubt there's a creator. So if your car is broken, you're not going to take it to a bakery to get work done. You're going to take it to the mechanic or the car place who put the car together, who knows how the parts work, who created it, right? So we have to go to our creator and say, what do I need? What am I missing? Why am I not functioning well? And he's going to tell you, you're missing me. I'm the magic missing piece of the puzzle that gets it all moving and gives you life. And so I would encourage everybody, like, if you have never heard of Jesus or you don't claim Jesus as your savior, that is fine. But I would ask God, who is Jesus in my life? And you might be surprised at what he starts to say to you.
Also, we see a lot of movement around the trauma talk now, people going to counselors, therapists to discuss this trauma, what happened as a child, blah, blah, blah. And people are leaving these sessions. saying they feel better. Their symptoms, like their physical ailments, have improved because they've let out some of that energy, which brings us back to this is an energetic system. How it just, my mind clearly boggles. You can tell when I'm trying to get the words out. Like, how are you okay with talking to a counselor, but not to God, to heal your body and let go of this? And the people I'm thinking of also, my mind boggles because they do believe in angels and they do believe they have a spirit or a soul, but they don't believe in God because if God was real, why would he let all this bad stuff happen? And my response is, well, like, not to be rude, but you're too stupid to ever understand that. Humans are too stupid to ever understand his reasoning for doing stuff. Like, we could never understand why he lets all this bad stuff happen, but there is a reason, and it's usually for our own good. But that, yeah, it plays on my mind a lot. And you can tell that sometimes I have trouble understanding certain things because my mind's trying to piece it together. But I'm like, no, because I've always had a faith. I can't really understand how people can't.
Yeah. And to my answer to that is that's why we need Jesus, because we are a broken world, because we are full of a sinful nature. It is in our nature to be selfish and want to do what suits us over our neighbor and other people. Just look at children. They're selfish by nature. And a lot of us don't grow out of that. That's what it means to mature, is to stop being selfish and to start thinking of others. And so we needed Jesus to come save us from ourselves. And when I think about the fact that we live, 80 to 100 years, in reality, that is the tiniest blip in time of eternity. And so you can't even see it on a timeline. It's like the littlest amount of time. And so you're right. We have to trust that God has a greater plan, and somehow this all fits into it. And He's going to use our pain for a purpose. I'm not even mad about all of the trauma and the drama and the trials and the tribulations I've been through. I'm actually thankful and grateful for them because they have built my character. They have given me like a tenacious energy and created persistence and patience and love and all of these virtuous things that I could never have developed if I hadn't gone through the darkest of times. Like, it just drew me closer to him, and he knows that. So that is why he allows it, because he knows sometimes you got to be in the deepest pit to reach out to him, and that is all he wants. So if you don't want to go through hell, reach out to him now. That's what I say. And I wish we could understand. He doesn't want us to know everything right now. And that's the whole point of faith. Faith is going forward in action without knowing what the result is going to be, just trusting him. And the truth is, it's hard to trust God because humans have let us down. Our own parents have failed us, yet we're supposed to believe that this Father God is going to keep his promises and show up and provide for us and love us and keep us safe. But yes, he's that good. He's that miraculous. He is not going to fail you like humans fail you. And that, once you can step out in faith like that and trust him, he'll just start shining out in your life. He really will. Like, he will take all the bad and turn it for your good and his glory if you believe him.
I also think it's hard for people to step out in faith because we are human, because we have emotions, because we feel pain, we feel hurt, we feel loss, and we don't want to feel that. It's distressing. It almost feels like at times it's tearing our soul apart. It can hurt us so much. And then that because we have these emotions, it's hard to have faith. Like, there's no way this can be for my own good. There's no way there's someone influencing my life because why would I feel this way if I did? And so on and so on. So I do get it. To an extent, I get it. And to another extent, I don't get it because I am only human and I am known to say to him a few times, I'm sorry, God, but you made me a woman. So I also have crazy hormones. So I do deserve an element of grace in my actions each day because, like, you made me like this. So it's not really my fault.
I love that. Well, and that's the other reason that it's so important to read scripture, especially the New Testament Gospels, and see that Jesus was a human being. He put on flesh and he gave himself the ability to feel and experience everything we do so he could know us that much more and show us, like, I empathize with you, I wept, I cried, I was angry, I've been hungry, I have been tempted by the devil. Like, as soon as Jesus stepped out in ministry, he went on a 40-day fast and was tempted by the devil when he was so hungry and so exhausted. And so we can trust that he understands us and he knows he has the path through. Like, we might not see it because we're focused on the problem, but he has the way through for us if we will just see it. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, because I've been spending so much time in the Old Testament where God is a jealous God and he is wrathful and he wants, you to obey him and to love him and to worship him. And it was like he had to bring that loving aspect nature of himself on earth as Jesus for him to be able to show his love for us and to teach us how to love in return, because I don't think we could love until he could love. And so it's really cool to see him evolve as God into a loving God who cares for us and feels for us and has gone through everything we've gone through. And that is the only reason we're capable of loving and being saved. And so I would just invite people, ask God. He'll tell you this stuff. That's the kind of stuff he reveals to me, but I take the time to talk to him about it.
Tabitha, we could talk for ages, but we both have stuff to do. Thank you for your time today. This was like a really fascinating conversation, and I knew you would be the perfect woman to have it with. So, can you tell the listeners where to find you? I know you have something exciting happening in the fall.
Yes, oh my goodness. Follow me on Instagram at Gutsy Dr. Tabatha. I am going on tour with Candace Cameron Bure in the fall. I will be in 8 cities, kind of in the southern eastern area of the United States. So definitely come see us, come give me a hug in person, or just go to fasttofaith.com and connect with us. I am here to support you on whatever aspect of the journey that you are at, because there is something for you, I promise.
Well, thank you for your time, Tabitha. Lovely
Thank
to see you
you.
again, and we will chat soon.
Thank you, love.